All right, you guys, I am joined by Chelsea Reeves. She is a fellow Texan just north of me a few hours, and she's amazing. You're going to love her, and we're going to
Oh,
get to know her story. So, Chelsea, where do you live roughly? You don't have to be super specific. And then, what all do
uh-huh.
you do? I know you do a little bit more than acting.
Okay, yeah, I live in North Fort Worth. The city that would be most well known just north of us is Denton, so just south of Denton.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I don't know if that may have been too specific.
No, no. And then, what all do you do? Because I know you do a little bit more than acting.
Yeah, I am also, I mean, professionally, I'm a massage therapist. That's my survival job. And then I also am the founder of a theater company, and we focus on lost, forgotten, and rare works. We haven't produced much of anything since before lockdown because that really obliterated the company finances because it was mostly my job. So I've had to get a new career in the meantime. So we're going to relaunch hopefully this summer, start our season in the fall if everything works out correctly. So
I love it. Cool. And then within the film industry, you do that, but then don't you also have like improv or something similar?
yeah, that's kind of a part of the theater company. That's like an educational outreach that we do. And my husband has done improv like semi-professionally, so he teaches the classes. And I know the basics of like the guidelines to use for improv, but he is much better at teaching it than I am.
Cool. Good duo. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. When would you say you officially started your acting journey? How long ago?
Hmm. I've always had the acting bug ever since I was a little kid because my parents were musicians and I was on a tour bus at 6 months old. And so they were singing and they weren't a national, like famous group, but they sang Southern gospel and they toured like the tri-state area. And so I grew up in a performing family and I always was going out for parts and school plays and things like that. And so I did it my whole adolescence. And then in college, I took this shift. I wanted to be a film composer. I was a music major. And then when I was done with college, I was actually going for a second degree in film and video production.
Mhm.
But then my friend told me about this acting class that she was going to take. And so I took it with her and I got the acting bug.
Ah,
so, so after that, I started just pursue. I did a lot of local theater. So,
cool. And then so for film acting, because you do that as well, what was like your first step to getting into that film and TV?
so I was taking an acting class, and the teacher had some ties to a couple of local productions. So I went out to be an extra for that.
Okay.
And I really wanted just to still pursue theater. And I did that for a while because I really wanted to be on Broadway. But then I think around 2019, the company was my company was in full swing. And I just felt the Holy Spirit was like, I want you to take acting for film classes. And so I started taking classes at Fort Worth Actor Studio with Nathan and Delitha Myers.
Mhm.
And I just did it to be obedient. And so that's just how that started. And I've done a few things since then. I've done mostly like independent, local, faith-based stuff. But I'm still kind of like not completely clear on what God's plan is. But we also, as we relaunch our company, we're wanting to do a film division of it as well. So it may just be for that. So I'll know what
Yeah.
I'm doing.
Yeah, cool. What would you say has been one of the biggest struggles that you've had as an actor up to this point?
Probably airing my dirty laundry a little, but it's probably been confidence in how I look. I was raised sort of around like appearances were really important, like and I've really struggled with that, and so I think that I have probably not submitted myself for things quite as much as I should, even though I know in like film they need all kinds of people.
Yeah.
But I've really struggled with like feeling like I have the right look or that I'm going to be cast as like a troll with a wart on my nose and things like, So it's just, it's been the Lord's really done a lot of healing in that area. So I'm feeling better about it. But it's just that was a big reason why I didn't want to pursue film to
Yeah.
begin with. And I thought theater is easier. People don't see me as close up. So,
Yeah, and then they do all the costumes and stuff too, and like the heavy
mm-hmm,
makeup. So
mm-hmm,
interesting. Thank you for sharing that because
mm-hmm,
I don't think that I've heard many actors say that that's the thing that's keeping them held back. But, maybe more actors are feeling that way and dealing with those thoughts, which of course is
mm-hmm.
like what Satan wants us to do is like hold on to those
Yes.
negative thoughts and don't move forward because, all this stuff.
Yes.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay, yeah, but you're totally right. All looks are needed. In fact, I get so, I guess, encouraged, or I just think it's really cool when I'm watching something and I'm like, what a look this person has, and they booked it.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a something for everyone. There's an audience for
Mm-hmm.
everyone in a role. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned Fort Worth Actor Studio. What are some other tools and resources that have helped you, communities, platforms, websites that have helped you grow your career?
Okay. Well, obviously, the Powerhouse Sisterhood Suite has been really helpful. It's been really encouraging. It really helps me keep my head in the game because I have a lot of creative projects that I want to work on outside of acting. Like I'm a singer, I'm a writer, I'm trying to write novels, I want to write scripts, and I've always wanted to learn how to sew couture,
Oh,
clothes, sewing and stuff like that. And so it's just like, what do I concentrate on? And eventually you have to pick something and just focus on it if you want to like be good at it and be successful at it.
yeah.
Um so it's been helpful to keep my head in the game. And then I've also taken classes with some other local teachers, and then outside of that, some books have been really helpful. Una Hagen's acting class is free on YouTube, and I just a few little pointers that she's given to people have just changed, my thinking and in a very helpful way. And then there's a few books, and I can't think of the name of it. I should have it with me, but I don't. It's a blue book. I think it's called Acting on Script.
Mhm.
I haven't quite finished it, but it's been helpful. And then my biggest training ground though has been theater.
Mhm.
Um, I know community theater sometimes gets made fun of, I guess, because it's community theater, but it is a spectacular training ground, and it's free. It's free
Mhm.
training, and they just want you to volunteer. And if you don't get cast in a show, you can at least volunteer for crew or something, and you can be there and you see how it works. And I just think it's a great training ground. But it's actually, I think, because of the show Glee,
Mhm.
musical theater has really gotten very popular, and so it's probably a little more competitive now. I think it probably I haven't auditioned for anything at the local level in a while because of my own company. I've been concentrating on that, but just everything I can see from this area, because this is more of a metropolitan area, the community theaters are really kicking it up a notch, and they're really doing high quality work, and there's more people getting theater degrees. And so it is more competition than it used to be. But if you live in a smaller town, with not as big of a population, you could probably get in a lot more easily. And it really, I don't know, I've some of the best training I've gotten, and networking and also resume you get,
Mhm.
is from theater. So you get free training, you get a resume credit, and you make friends. So
Yes. And
yeah.
theater looks very good on a resume. And the discipline that you
Mm-hmm.
get from theater and the commitment and the follow through, and like you said, the connections, because you're working with other people for hours and hours and hours and for day
Mm-hmm.
after day after day. So it is really, you're right. It's really good training ground for sure. And an easy way to like get your toe in for those who are like wanting
Mm-hmm.
to do acting, but they're not quite sure how to start. Theater is great because, like you said, volunteers. And if you don't want to actually be in front of the audience, you can be crew. So everything you said, I totally echo. I love all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you said one of those useful tools was the Powerhouse Sisterhood Suite. What made you join that community?
I had just had kind of a big disappointment right before the sisterhood started, and I was in a little bit of a funk. And I used to be part of a critique group for novel writers. And that was really what kept me focused on my writing. And so when I was in a little bit of a funk, my husband was like, well, why don't you find a group to just join so you stay focused on your goals? And so it just happened. I saw it on Facebook, and I was like, okay, let's try this. And so it has been really helpful. It helped me get my mind off of my troubles.
Yeah.
And we've come through that, and I'm fine now. And then but also it has really helped me learn a lot of things about the film industry I didn't know, and it's helped me keep my eyes on the goal. I don't know, there's probably more that I can't think of right now that in ways it has been helpful, but it has been
Yeah.
very helpful. So
Oh, so good to hear. So good. I love it. Okay, so being a Christian in the film industry, is there anything that you do or don't do because of your faith?
of course, the general things like no like nudity and sex scenes and things like that. But like language, I'd like to be very careful with. I think I would probably be more inclined to use heavy profanity if it went with the character and it mattered to the story. That over using the Lord's name in vain. That is like where I draw the line. I'm like, I'm not going to blaspheme just for a role.
Yeah.
I don't have an extensive list. I think it's kind of a case by case basis. I feel like I'd want to know the overarching message of the film. Does it have a redemptive message? Is the character they want me for just like, the bad person, and so they want me to do bad things? I'd really have to pray about it. That would be my ultimate kind of plumb line. Do I feel the Holy Spirit's leading me to do this, or do I feel like he's telling me to turn it down? So
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
mhm.
What's a mistake that you've learned so far that you don't want anybody else to have to experience?
When it comes to musical theater, I didn't really know how to dance. I could move, but
Hmm.
I wanted to take dancing lessons, and I just that it was another body issue thing where like I didn't want to be in a dance class with a bunch of dancers, and so I
Yeah.
didn't really take the time to learn how to dance first. I just thought my voice was enough
Yeah.
to get, and it often was enough to get me into like community theater shows. But I think if someone wanted to pursue musical theater, it's important to know how to dance,
Mm. Hmm.
unless you're doing, like rock opera where it's just, stuff like Evita and Les Mis, where there's not that much dancing. With film, I was very cautious and very careful. I didn't even want to make an attempt to do film without having a more extensive knowledge of what would be required of me on the set, because I was scared of like messing up my reputation.
Yeah.
I hear over and over from people that in the area where I live, it's a really small community and you can mess up your reputation really quickly. So
Yeah.
that was actually another thing that kept me from pursuing too much film, because I was really scared I was going to do something dumb.
Yeah. So how do you, with all the stuff, like you said, you do singing in the theater and the film and the massage and like everything, how do you practically build your relationship with Jesus as you're pursuing these things? Like, what does it look like?
I have to be very careful of making sure that I have my quiet time every day, and it's not always. I'm not always as disciplined with that as I would like to be. But on the days that I am, it feels great. I really just have to ask him what he wants me focusing on, and sometimes I don't always hear him as clearly, but whatever I do, I just want him to get the glory for it. The things I want to do, I just want him, I want them to be things that he can use to bring himself glory and to, draw people into a relationship with him.
Yeah,
So,
the ultimate. Yes, I love it.
yeah.
Okay, as we're wrapping up, two more questions. So, what is your favorite book or favorite quote? Does not have to be acting related at all.
One of my favorite quotes is, "A year from now, you'll wish you'd started today." And that is a
Mm,
thing that when I have a million things on my plate or on my mind, and I just feel overwhelmed and I want to like stop and just like hide under the covers.
yeah.
I Yeah, that helps me. Like, you need to start something. And a second favorite quote is, it's easier for God to steer you when you're moving than when you're standing still. So,
Totally. Yeah.
so both of those two
Yeah.
quotes get me motivated to just start something. So,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's one of the ways, like, my relationship with Jesus, like, is kind of steering my career choices.
Yeah.
Just start moving. If your heart's in the right place, he's going to guide you in the right direction. So
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so good. Good ones. Both good ones. Okay. Final
good.
question. So for somebody who's wanting to get into acting, but they're feeling stuck, they're not sure how to get started, what advice would you give them?
Check out your local community theater. Honestly, I mean, it is, again, it's just take a step in the right direction and let the Lord steer you. And if your community theater is doing a show that doesn't have messages contrary to the Bible, because there are a lot of those these days, so you do have to be careful in theater as well. Start doing something. Take a class. If you can, if you don't have the money for a class, go look around your local community theaters and just see where you can get involved, and your things will start taking off from there.
Mm-hmm. Yay, I love it. Okay, final thing. Where can people find you on social media if they want to follow you and all the things that you've got going on?
Probably the best social media to follow me on would be the theater company, because that's where I'm probably going to be doing focusing most of my time. It's, if you can see that, it's like reflex ion. It's this
Oh,
old
yeah.
British way of spelling it. Anyway, Reflection Theater Company, and we are, our home city is Bedford, Texas right now, but if I think we're the only Reflection Theater online, so that spells
Cool.
it that way. So
Okay, cool. And then after this gets uploaded too, you can throw that in the comments if you want to on YouTube.
okay, great.